September the 24th. It played on Fox. It was called Who Shot Tupac and Biggie? And I just want to give my thoughts about it real quick. I'm going to try not to make this long. I'm already 1 minute in. But anyway, while I was watching it, I felt like the documentary, it wasn't a terrible documentary, but there were certain things in there that put a little question mark in my head, like especially the part where they showed the recording of Stretch giving his intake on what happened that night at Quad Studios. And he claimed that Tupac shot himself. He was only shot once, and that one shot came from him accidentally shooting himself. And it didn't even make any sense because we all know that Tupac was shot 5 times. We all know that shooting at Quad Studios was a setup. We all know that. They even said it in the news, all over media. It's all, even they even had medical records stating that he was shot 5 times. Like, what is up with Stretch? But here's the thing about Stretch, and this is what I've been hearing. I've been hearing this way before the documentary aired. I've been hearing from other Pac fans that they feel like Stretch was a part of the setup. He was a part of Tupac getting shot that night. And I'm starting to believe them. I'm really, based on what he said on that tape recorder, I'm starting to believe the other Pop fans. And here's my theory. I really believe, and you may think it's weird because you're thinking like, well, Stretch, he rapped with Tupac. He was in the group called Thug Life and Live Squad with Tupac. You may be like, there's no way in heck he would be in on the setup. But the thing is that you gotta know is that sometimes the people that hang with you or claim to be your friend are not really your friend. And I really believe that Stretch was using Tupac the whole time. The whole time during, him hanging out and rapping on records with Tupac, I feel like he was using Tupac for fame. Because for him to lie about what happened at Quad Studios and then claim that he's a friend of Tupac and act like he was down with Tupac, it just doesn't add up. And it shows that he wasn't a friend of Tupac at all. He was just using him for fame, basically. Him rapping on those records. And he's a really good rapper. I like his voice on the songs. I really do. I like that deep voice he got. I'm not going to take that away from him. He is a good rapper, but he is definitely not a good friend to Tupac. And another thing that struck me was Reggie Wright. He got very, very nervous during the interview, and he seemed to be stuttering over his words and acting indecisive. And when they asked him, who he thought set Tupac up on his last shooting in '96, he kept turning to the murder rap documentary. But the way that he was stating his answers, you can tell that he was hiding something. You can tell that he wasn't being truthful. Just his whole demeanor. If you haven't seen it, you gotta see it. And another thing that struck me was Haitian jackass. Yeah, I call him a jackass. Haitian jackass. When they did the interview, for him, he wouldn't. Obviously, he's not gonna tell who set Tupac up at the Quad Studios. I knew he wasn't. He's a punk just like that. But when he was telling his reasoning for this, it seemed like he didn't have a clear answer. It just seemed like he was just putting the blame on Tupac, talking about Tupac started some mess with his clique and stuff. And I'm like, well, why can't y'all just talk it out? Why you gotta pull out a gun? If you got a problem with Tupac, why you gotta pull out a gun and set him up like that? Why couldn't you just talk it out like man to man? He even set him up for that sexual assault charge. And and it's funny because Tupac's been dead for over 20 years, and now 21 years. And now you're beginning to see a lot of fakeness. A lot of people that you thought that was for Tupac were not really for Tupac. And I'm really disappointed in Ice-T for adding in Funk Master Flex interview, because we all know that Flex has a strong hatred for Tupac. He's always throwing shade at Tupac. I don't know if it happened this year or last year, but he threw shade at Tupac. He talking about Tupac lied and saying, the same thing that Stretch said. He said that Tupac actually shot himself in the elevator. And and he was just dissing Pac, trying to tarnish Tupac's legacy with negativity. And a lot of Pac fans, including myself, we came at him. We came at him about it. And and every hip hop fan knew the hatred that Flex had for Tupac. So there's no excuse. It was all over social media, and even if you wasn't on social media, which isn't necessarily true for Ice-T, because he does have an Instagram page, so he would have known, and he has been updating on his Instagram page recently. He would have known about the beef that Flex had, excuse me, with Tupac. So, him not knowing about the beef or being aware of the beef is no excuse at all. So, for him to know about the beef that Flex had with Tupac and still go ahead and put Tupac in to the documentary is just totally disrespectful. But, other than that, other than those things that I just talked about, the documentary, I wouldn't say was terrible. It was interesting. I give it that. But there was just some things that just, was just a big turn off to me. And I just really feel like they wasted their time talking with these people. The people that they interviewed, they wasted their time talking with them because they didn't really give them any leeway whatsoever about who could have possibly did this. Not possibly, but who actually did this to Tupac. They didn't give any leeway on solving the murders. They were either beating around the bush about it or just was like, well, there's this no snitching rule going on and I'm not going to tell you who did what. And the people that set Tupac and Biggie up are probably not even alive today to even get back at these people that knew that they that they were the ones who set this up. So I don't know why they're not willing to say who did what. And it's just odd to me. And then they interviewed a guy, I forgot his name. They interviewed a guy who was there with Tupac at Quad Studios. He claimed he never been interviewed, but I feel like he has been interviewed. Then again, maybe he didn't, because the LAPD at Las Vegas, they didn't really work hard enough to solve the mystery behind the shootings. But in the LAPD in New York, they didn't work hard enough to solve the shooting at Quad Studios either. But anyway, he didn't even want to let them know who he saw holding a gun. Now, one thing they said that Tupac had been pistol whipped. He had been pistol whipped with the gun. But other than that, they didn't give no leeway into who did what. And it's just a lot of unanswered questions in this documentary. It's like it was just a waste of time because there was no new evidence, to connect to who did these murders. And also I'm hearing from rapper Daz, who's from the Dog Pound, the rap group called Dog Pound. I heard that they didn't even include, he said that they did an interview with him, but they didn't even include it in the documentary. And I'm like, why not include it? There's just a lot of things that's wrong about this documentary. And I just feel like if Afeni was alive today, these people, they wouldn't be as bold as they are right now to tarnish Tupac's legacy. Even with that movie, September the 24th, it played on Fox. It was called Who Shot Tupac and Biggie? And I just want to give my thoughts about it real quick. I'm going to try not to make this long. I'm already 1 minute in. But anyway, while I was watching it, I felt like the documentary, it wasn't a terrible documentary, but there were certain things in there that put a little question mark in my head, like especially the part where they showed the recording